one. Woo! Woo! Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite and our second favorite, the Squadcast. Woo!
Wait. I'm sorry, what? Welcome. Please sit down, enjoy yourself, and listen to us ramble about Soul. Because I just gotta make a video about this movie, and I can't talk about this movie to myself. Like, I gotta put it out on the internet, and have lackadaisical and tied up to a chair.
I'm
just
suffering.
Hostage.
So one of us here is a fan of Pixar, loves it, has seen every movie at least once or twice. One of their favorite movies is a Pixar movie. It was the first movie they ever saw in theaters. Just overall is a big fan. And the other one can recite any trivia that you have ever heard, the most minuscule detail, has seen every movie at least 3 or 4 times, if not 70. It is also named Snickerdoodle.
In case if you didn't know, I'm a bit of a Pixar maniac. I think I've ascended beyond the level of nerd by this point. But yeah, so Soul came out just about 4 days.
4 days from time of
when we're recording this, and I've already watched it about 4 times.
I've seen it once, like a normal person.
Okay, let's first talk about non-spoilery stuff. I've got a list here in my notes. So I know that a lot of people are really there are a few things about this movie that people are concerned about before they watch the movie, and I can reassure you that one, Soul mostly takes place in New York. It doesn't dwell in the Soul world longer than it needs to be. It's perfectly
I watched this with my family, and the main thing that we talked about afterwards was that the trailers made the movie look not great. They made it seem like I'm going to talk about stuff from the trailers, so I don't think this is spoilers. The trailers also included the worst joke that wasn't actually in the movie, which made me so happy.
Probably for doing this funny cowboy dance.
Great.
I'm like, oh god, no.
This isn't funny.
I'm just like, this is just gonna be like The Princess and the Frog, where it's like, hey, remember when you had a cool black protagonist? Let's make him into let's make him into something that's not that.
Talking about 22 and being funny, this movie is hilarious. I did not expect this movie to be as funny as it was, but this is laugh out loud. It was funnier than
When we get into
Onward.
spoiler territory, I will talk to you guys about the joke that
favorite
killed
jokes.
me.
Yes, and also 22 is not annoying, which doesn't sound like something important, but it's
so
very
funny
it is
because again, the trailers made them seem like the worst character.
Yeah.
And they actually end up being fairly interesting and cool.
Yeah.
How did they do that?
They didn't make it annoying to the audience. They made it so that the audience knows that they're an annoying character, but they're not annoying to the audience. They're annoying to the characters around them.
They're written as a character
how
that
you're supposed
wants to
to
annoy
do
other
it.
people.
Yes, exactly.
It's a
also 22
well-written jerk.
22 isn't loud, and I'm so thankful of that. She's another one of those quiet side characters, which I'm so glad. We need more quiet comic reliefs. Yeah.
The vibe that I get from her is stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself.
Exactly. It's that kind of.
It ends up being charming in a way that's that I did not expect.
I was gonna point out. So I looked at critics and people critiquing this, and it's not racist. Thank you very much.
Oh my god, no, it's not.
Can't believe.
I will say, I understand that I'm a white person. I don't really have a place to say that, but the way that they incorporate race into this, they only really bring it up twice, I believe, for very brief moments. One of them was a joke. I could talk about that later. That was a funny joke. But the way they do it is just incorporating this culture into the story and making it just a central part of the main character, Joe, his life. And it just makes them feel so much more rich and real and just fascinating.
Okay, so I wanted to lead this into just like, this movie is not for kids, I'd say, but it's kid-friendly. It's not directed towards a child audience. It's very much directed towards an older audience.
That actually reminds me of something that I really wanted to talk about. And this isn't getting into spoiler territory. So this is something that actually relates to us a bit. So I know we're both fans of Pixar, as have been established.
Yeah.
But I know that we each have different favorite directors. You tend to gravitate more towards Pete Docter, who did this lovely film. But I love... There's a special place in my heart for The Incredibles and Ratatouille and just Brad Bird.
Yes.
Brad Bird. I think one of the things that Brad Bird does so brilliantly is incorporate real people. And to quote someone else, he makes movies for adults first and kids second. And uses like the medium of animation to... No, it's brilliant. And it's so... It's so cool seeing that more adult, mature, philosophical, and real perspective being put into a Pete Docter film, which are known for being sentimental, sweet, sad, cute. So having a film that has all that sweet, sad, and cute, but also incorporates like some of the things that I especially love in Pixar, just
Okay, so
if you haven't seen Soul, stop
yes,
now,
please.
go watch it,
and
pause
go
the
watch
video,
it.
come on back.
It's on Disney Plus. You have no excuse.
All right, let's give him a few
excuses
seconds.
are for the weak. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. What I want to say, because there's one thing that they kept out of the trailers. One little secret that Pete Docter was definitely just like, I'm gonna keep this in, but it's like a huge part of the movie. It's the body switch. The body switch segment.
I did not expect the body switch until about 2 minutes before it happened, when they're like, look, the cat. And I'm like, oh, it's the cat. He's gonna go into the cat and
okay, so here's what I thought about the body switch. At first, I was like, oh no. Like, Pixar, did you just, like, ruin the movie? Like, is this what the rest of the movie is about? But the more they do it, the more I'm like, wow, this is, like, everything that's good about a body switch plot. It's not, like, the annoying version.
It's the version where they learn new things instead of just wacky hijinks, which they do some wacky hijinks, but I think all of the ones they do are really fun. The barbershop scene is so great because I love the fact that 22 is just rambling and everyone just so into it. They're like, wow, I never knew about that.
Yeah, going to the barbershop scene.
Yeah.
That barbershop scene is so good. It's like probably like one of the best scenes in the movie. And David Diggs was there too.
Yeah, David Diggs. David, my man. Oh god, I love him.
He was so funny.
So when Joe first dies, and I found this so refreshing because I will point out that the Jerrys are my favorite. I love them. They're so funny. But it is so funny when Joe's like, is this heaven? And then he's like, is it G-double? And then a bunch of just unborn children, they're like, hell?
Speaking of that, okay, so Lackadaisical, if I could like challenge you for a bit, what is your favorite joke in the entire movie? Because I have one in mind.
My favorite joke is at the very, very end. Where they tell Joe, like, we made an arrangement with Terry, and then the fucking Terry just says, look over there, and just points away. It just fixes it. Like, that's, like, I could not, like, I started dying, because that's exactly my kind of humor. Yeah. And I think that was so fun how they made them like these abstract, incomprehensible gods and still gave them these
they're
like,
so relatable,
very gentle personalities.
And they're so calm, and I just want to like hug a Jerry.
I want to hug a
Jerry, and I want to hug Terry. Oh, no, Terry's so great.
Oh,
Terry's my favorite. Terry's my favorite.
is a
of them
lovely
all.
antagonist. I think Terry worked well
Like
as an
he,
antagonist.
yeah, because like
because
she's
they had a perfectly reasonable and normal motivation.
yeah, she wasn't like evil. She was just
Yeah,
like
she was just doing
I
her
want to
job.
I want to fix this. Yeah, and then
And
in the
she
end
kept saying
she just
Terry
wants
time.
she
Which
she
you
just
gotta
wants
give
she
credit
just
for.
wants to feel loved by the Jerrys. She wants to be
She wants
appreciated.
validation.
But so my favorite joke, which is I like tried to look it up but I couldn't find the scene on YouTube. Was like so they were in the room and they're like there's a screen and they were like talking about like what mentors are supposed to do, and it was like I'm a curious wallflower. It's like and then there was like one that was like I'm a manipulative megalomaniac who's extremely opportunistic.
They also
and
made
they're
a
just like,
similar
whoa,
joke.
this one's
Yeah.
a bit of a handful full, but that's Earth's problem.
Oh, bringing back that joke, that one joke that technically involves race is that Joe asks 22, why do you sound
Why
like
do you sound like a middle-aged white woman?
lady?
It's like, oh, because it sounds
Because it's
annoying.
annoying. She's like, oh, it's because it's the most annoying voice, and I'm like, ah, valid.
Okay, so did you cry in this movie?
Oh, for sure.
You did? Okay,
Yeah.
so can you list which scenes made you cry? Because I actually cried in scenes that probably weren't the part that was supposed to make me cry.
Oh, yeah,
so
same.
you go first.
I think one of the parts that made me cry was the montage of Joe's life towards the very end, because that was just really sweet. I think, what other thing?
It might be the same as mine.
Here, you say it, and it probably
Okay,
will be.
so first one that made me cry. So I actually didn't cry in the montage, which is weird. But I'll get into why that is. I have a list of critiques of the film that I'm gonna get into later. But so first part that made me cry was when they were in like the spotlight chamber and they could look at like Joe's life. He was like looking at like all of the things going on, and he said my life was meaningless. That part like hit me really
I feel
hard.
like that hit me, but that didn't make me cry.
Yeah, that like made me like tear, and I'm counting that as crying. Another part that made me cry was the climax, 22's sand scene is what I called it. You know what I'm talking about, right? When like 22 is a lost soul, Joe goes into the soul. There's like a spinning desert place.
I did not think that would get me. That did not get me until the big Joe showed up.
What got to me was
hit me.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What got to me was like it was showing like all of 22's mentors going like you're a waste of time, like you're undeserving, like I can't believe like you're the worst person in the world.
I think
and that like really got to me because it like reminded me of like the fact that like 22 is like kind of symbolizes like how the education system deals with who like might be like slower than like
or slower.
Troublemakers or like
abnormal.
Kids who like exactly. And like the way how like because like I think it's just like even though they don't really, I'm not sure whether they meant it, but it's like a really good metaphor because they get all of these like good like top mentors who can't help 22, but the thing that helps 22 is experience in the real world, like actual experience, which I was like, oh my gosh, like if that was not intentional, like bravo to you for making that like.
Is that these were the things that 22 used to pride themselves on. They used to be like, haha, I bested every mentor.
Yeah.
Not even Mother Teresa could handle me. But then
I made her cry.
Yeah, and it's like this feeling that 22 prides himself on being so tough, but when the one time that they actually feel wanted, that gets rejected, everything that they once were proud of and took pride in turns against them. And
exactly. Like it's easy to like make fun of yourself, like by like poking at yourself and jokes, but like when it gets too far and you realize like and you start believing in what you're saying about yourself, it gets like really it's a real thing that like pretty much everyone has dealt with like in one way or another. Okay, so I think that's like pretty much all I have to talk about when it comes to like plot points. So let's move on to
Can we talk about visuals?
The animation.
Yeah.
The visuals. The animation. Why don't you go first? Because I know that once I start, I'm not going to finish. So go ahead.
Okay, long
and
story
say what you
short,
want to say.
spoiler alert, it's gorgeous. The real world is rendered so beautifully. It's amazing because even though the character designs are still cartoony and a little abstract, they feel so real. There are scenes where you can tell people put so much love and detail into every little bit of the real world. Every single character looks distinct and interesting and cool. Every little part of it is just beautiful. And then the more creative visual parts, such as especially the Jerry's and Terry, I think was such I think that was probably one of the best choices that they made. If that makes sense. Because visually, the Jerry's and Terry look fantastic, especially because they all look distinct from each other. They all look. It's a creative yet such a simple idea to make these gods just kind of lines, which I think was a fantastic decision. And I think, again, visually one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is when Terry is searching for Joe. Because they just become a little line or just snaking around everywhere, and it just looks so lovely because it incorporates my two favorite parts visually is this beautiful, amazingly made world combining with just this little creative singular visual, and it's just so impressive and easily, like, I will argue that even though this is not my favorite Pixar movie, this is definitely the most gorgeous and well animated Pixar movie.
The attention to detail on the musicians, the way they play their instruments, it's all correct. Like, you see cartoons where they're just kind of like, either they like don't show the hands, or they're just kind of like randomly tickling the keys.
Are hard.
But like, the way that, so obviously the way that they rigged the hands and played them to match the keys of every instrument. So like even like the trombones exact, the saxophone, the cello, everything is exactly like the way that the instrument is meant to be played. Like you could follow the footage and play what they're playing. And obviously the way that, like, the first time they did this was in Coco with Miguel and the guitar. That was when they like kind of challenged themselves to this. And so they clearly used that technique and just put everything that you see on screen was made by an animator through like sculpting and like building from like simple shapes like cubes and spheres and things like that, and then adding textures and materials to them. And every time a character moves or a part of a character moves, if you want to move a finger, an animator has to move that finger. So every time when a character is like swaying their arms around or talking, that's like layers and layers of characters moving these, animators moving these characters around, like kind of like stop motion but easier. And Pixar is like constantly, like every film they make, their animation gets better and better every single time. So that's why this, I also think that this film is like the most like the most well animated Pixar movie.
And I would wager that it's one of the, out of the animated movies I've seen, and I have seen quite a lot, it's possibly, I think it's up there. It's either my favorite or second favorite in comparison to Spider-Verse with the visuals. I think both of them are good contenders for the most incredible looking animated movie ever.
Or at least in like 3D animation, because
fair enough.
I feel
2D,
like
2D
a lot of
and medium more
2D is like judged in a different way, pretty
Absolutely.
much. But anyways, like also the colors in this movie, like they don't just choose random colors for nothing. They like plan it out. Like they're like, this scene has to look blue, or this scene has to look red, or this scene has to look green.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
like that's,
oh my gosh.
Obviously they're masters in color theory and how that affects mood.
And also, can we talk about that scene? Because, the scene
wow,
where
that's specific,
Joe...
of course.
that scene.
The one.
The scene where Joe falls from the great beyond to the great before.
Yes.
It was okay. So
That
my
was in the
house
trailer,
has.
wasn't it?
Okay, so for the audience, yeah, but like for the audience, my house, we have like this like kind of like a movie theater room where like we have
It's so cool.
we have like a projector and we have like 7 speakers. During that scene, like not only were the visuals like huge, like they could see like Joe was like a tiny little speck compared to these like giant like abstract visuals as he's like falling down, and like the music was like booming so loud that it like shook the room, and it was so good. Like this movie was definitely made for the big screen. You could watch a film as an average audience and just kind of enjoy the ride, but I, as a movie critic, look for the metaphors and symbolism.
Okay, Anton Ego.
I noticed like a lot more symbolism in this movie than I thought. So like so there were some obvious ones like the story of the fish in the ocean, but I want to just say one that I'm really proud that I found. So there's one scene in the very beginning where he gets the phone call, right? He's like you could play with Dorothea Williams. He runs. There's a scene where he's running down the street. It's like looking from a bird's eye view. He's running down the street. There's a building, so it's like blocking out light. So like the left side of the screen is dark and the other side of the screen is light. And everyone on the street is walking towards the light as Joe is running away from the light similar to how when he was going to die,
Foreshadowing.
he was
To the
running
death.
away from the light while everyone else was walking towards the light, which was like, and not only that, but he's running away from the light to try to get to Dorothea Williams and to try to get to what he thinks is his goal in life, which is like just like a summary of the entire film. I did it. I'm officially that one person that nobody wants to talk to anymore. Like I can just see like people listening to this to this video and being like, oh. Yeah, I'm not gonna have like a dinner discussion with Snickerdoodle. I don't want to see this movie anymore.
Is the whole thing gonna be? If the whole thing is just gonna be about some guy running into like dark place, that's just gonna be boring.
Speaking of which, like,
Yeah,
there's this one time.
Snickerdoodle made it boring. Blame him. Box office sales drop.
There was one time I was in like this art school outside of school, like out of school art class, and like I was like with this like little kid, and I was telling the kid like how animated movies work and how they take like 5 years to make, and he literally just looked at me and said to my face, "You ruined animated movies for me." But speaking of like my obsession with Pixar, okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys why this became my most favorite movie, because I already really like this movie, but what made this movie my favorite, not that I think it's the best Pixar movie, not by like a long shot really. Oh
Yeah,
look,
that's
not by
important.
a lot.
That's important to distinguish.
It's not the best Pixar movie.
Best
but
for
it's my favorite. There's a difference. There's a big difference, actually. I had a strong personal connection to this film that I didn't realize I would have. Is that the main message was there's a difference between a passion and a purpose of life. And not only that, but like in the barbershop scene, they're like it's finally good to talk about something other than jazz with you, and like they emphasize the fact that Joe has spent his entire life focusing on jazz and only jazz and nothing but jazz, and that has resulted in him like losing connections with other people, and he's become like this alone person. And I was like, is this what people think about me when I talk about Pixar and drawing? Oh no! Which like I don't think like, well, I mean I'm a high schooler, so I haven't had time to really drive people away from me yet. But
just wait a few more years.
Yeah, if you just wait a few more years, I'll slowly
Don't worry,
turn
I'll
into
leave
Joe
you.
Gardner. Thanks.
I'll do it first.
You'll be
I'll
my
break
first,
you in.
No, you'll be the first. Just leaves the conversation. I'm just gonna like list off the metaphors that I found and move on. One, so like Joe was looking at his whole life, not noticing the little things because he was looking at like all the spotlights and all of those were like the big focuses of his life, and he couldn't even see the little things, which is kind of like a metaphor for what people do when they look at their life. And when you look at your life as a whole, it's easy to come to the conclusion that it's meaningless. Okay, because I want to move on to... I want to quickly get through my critiques with the film. Because even though it's my favorite film, I do admit...
Yeah, I think that's
see
a good
the
thing to
critiques.
end on, is critiques. Because we have established how
yes.
much we enjoyed and loved this film. Like, this is a solid 8
Yes.
to 8... Anywhere between 8 and 10 out of 10. Depending on
Yeah.
what you feel about it. Like, objectively.
Yes. Like, if you say that this film is a bad film, you're just wrong. Like, you are just... Yeah, anyway.
Some people are a biggest fan of animation, and those same people
Yeah.
aren't allowed to subscribe to our channel, is the funny thing.
Yeah, those people can leave if you think... Yeah, you
also,
can
why
can
would you
leave
subscribe
now.
to our
Bye.
channel if you're not into like that kind of thing? Hey, are you okay? Like, leave a... Hey, if you don't like animation and you're watching our channel, leave a comment down below, and we'll get you some help.
cyberbully. Yeah, we'll get you help. My biggest critique with this film is that they could have cut time from the body swap and put more time into establishing Joe's life. Because I feel like that montage would have been so much more impactful if we just knew a little bit more about his life.
And I think there was one little part of they mentioned like twice that there was someone named Lisa that Joe knew.
Lisa.
And I was like the whole time I'm like, ooh, are we gonna get to meet Lisa? Because I literally thought that during the body swap they'd bump into her and Joe'd be like, oh my god, oh no. Like I was waiting for that because I thought that would be cute and funny.
Another thing that I wish would be expanded on was, okay, so I listed his dad, Lisa, his childhood, and his teaching life. Those are like
absolutely. I think
things
that you hit the nail on the head there.
And one thing that I was kind of confused about was the trombone girl. She just kind of disappears.
Yeah,
like,
what happens to
I thought
Connie?
she'd come back. Yeah, Connie, right? She just kind of I wanted more with her character. I was gonna say, I saw like complaints that like, oh, like they should have shown what happened, like whether Joe like took the jazz opportunity or decided to play music and decided to be a teacher, and I was like, no, that kind of defeats the purpose of the ending.
I think that's I think that's good to leave open-ended. I think you want him to I want to leave it up for interpretation what he does. I think that was a good decision.
Yeah, because it's better for the audience to think about what they think the meaning of life is, instead of the creators telling you what the meaning of life is. Because that kind of defeats the purpose of the whole film.
No, this is a very subjective movie.
Yeah. And my second to last criticism, we need more Terry in the real world.
More Terry.
Just
in
Terry
general,
specifically, in general, but specifically in the real world, because there's that part where one of the Jerrys was like, this won't be a disaster, that's for sure. And Terry traumatizes Paul.
Yes.
Terry
traumatizes David Diggs, and that's my other favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah,
that was ooh, I'm
great.
so sorry,
Let's get you back in your meat
like
suit.
he's like sobbing pretty much. And they're like, yeah, sorry about that.
Stay away from those processed foods.
And again, that's part of the
I felt
trophy
like
thing, but I thought that was so
I felt like Terry could have could have gotten into more trouble.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit less of a problem. I realized that they kind of ran out of time, but again, take some time away from the body swap. You did it well, but I still don't think that body swaps are good plot devices.
This is probably one of the best uses of it. But
no, guaranteed.
But I think you could
and
I do think
you can
that
see
it
why
is
it's important.
good that we could spend a lot of time with 22 experiencing the world, but still.
And my last critique, it's a bit of a nitpick, but
fair enough.
I don't like the design of the Lost Souls. I think they don't they're like in between like childish and genuinely terrifying. You know what I mean?
I feel like but I feel like if you still get that shape of that there's still a person in there, it probably would have been a little more.
I think either you make them look more human or you make them look more monstrous. Like they kind of like had a weird.
They're stuck in a weird
between.
uncanny valley.
Yeah, and because like it's a soul trapped in like this like sand body, but like it doesn't necessarily like look like sand. I was hoping that like the sand creatures, like being sand creatures, I would like, wouldn't it be cooler if they had like sand dripping down, like constantly dripping from like their bodies? That'd be like a little more like a creepy edge to it. Yeah, I mean, sure it would be like a pain to.
In there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was gonna say, like, sure, it'd be like a pain to like render, but
hey, how about you do that one by yourself?
So I looked on Rotten Tomatoes. One of the rotten reviews was the plot is ridiculous, which I'm like, have you seen a Pixar film before?
Like, what do you expect? Like, I assume that this is a person who just who watches only documentaries and cries themselves to sleep.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like, dude.
Like, this is fake, isn't it?
To be, like, although we have established that this is a film that is all written for adults, it's still technically a kids movie, because it's by a company that makes kids movies.
Disney is selling this for kids. You can tell from their trailers. That awful Cowboys joke.
God, I hate the trailer so much. Like, that's one of the things that most infuriates me, is that the trailer does not do this movie justice in any way.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, here, audience, let me give you a Pixar tip. All Pixar trailers are bad.
They
Period.
suck.
There is no good Pixar trailer.
Like, how do you make it? How do you make a good Pixar trailer? You don't. You just can't.
I would actually put this as like one of Pixar's greats. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Up there
I think that this is
yeah.
I think that this is a movie that it tries to tackle a lot of bigger concepts than Pixar usually does, and I think that there may be one later on that will do something similar but better. But I think that for now, this is in at least my personal top 5 and possibly the overall top 5.
Yeah, this is my top 1. But yeah, this has been a review of Soul. Very long review, but a review nonetheless. If you want to, let me know if you want me to rank the Pixar movies, because I'm kind of planning on that, like on a tier list. And let me know if you want me to do a frame-by-frame analysis of Soul. I'd be happy to do that as well.
And let me know if you need to, like, if I need to, like, shut him up or something.
Yeah, okay, that is the end. Save the turtles, and watch Soul.